Ngoku ke lithuba lokuthandazela ngaphakathi nelokuzukisa. Singahlala phansi. Order. Order, honorable members. I've been informed that the whippery has agreed that there will be no motions, notices of motions or without notice, except for the motion on the order paper. We now come to the motion on the order paper. I call on the Chief Whip. Can you be on record, Chief Whip? Can some? Can you check the other one? Chief Whip, go this.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chair. I move that the Council knows that the National Council of Provinces and the National Assembly established the South African chapter of the Global TB Caucus on the 4th September 2018, and 2, resolves to reconstitute with the concurrence of National Assembly the coordinating body. The body 2A consists of 11 members of the National Assembly and 9 members of the National Council of Provinces. And B, co-chaired by chairpersons of the Portfolio Committee on Health and chairperson of the Select Committee on Social Services, included in the above composition. And 3, exercise those powers in Joint Rule 32 that may assist it in carrying out its tasks. I so move, Deputy Chair.
Thank you very much. As there's no speakers list, I shall put the question, and the question is that the motion be agreed to. As the decision is dealt with in terms of Section 65 of the Constitution, I shall first ascertain whether if all delegation heads are in the House. Are all delegation heads in the House? In the light of that, in accordance with Rule 71, I shall first allow provinces an opportunity to make a declaration of vote if they so wish. Is there any province that wishes to make a declaration of vote? In the absence of any, we shall then proceed with the voting in an alphabetical order. Eastern Cape.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chair. Eastern Cape support.
Free State. Gauteng.
Gauteng support, Chair.
KwaZulu-Natal.
KwaZulu-Natal support.
Popo.
Limpopo support.
Mpumalanga.
Mpumalanga agrees.
Northern Cape. Northwest.
Northwest agrees.
Western Cape.
Western Cape agrees, dear person.
All 9 provinces voted in favor, therefore the motion is agreed to in terms of Section 65 of the Constitution. Honorable members, we now come to the subject for discussion as printed on the order paper, and in doing so, may I therefore welcome the Minister, MEC's present, special delegates, and invite the Minister, Honorable Kaula, to introduce the subject matter.
Honorable Deputy Chairperson of the NCOP, Honorable Minister of Basic Education, Honorable MECs of Education from Limpopo, the Eastern Cape, and my younger brother from the KZN, Honorable Lungwana, colleagues. It is time we treat great art teachers with the respect and dignity they deserve. This House may be very well aware of Utata Madiba's love for children, and in particular, he took a keen interest in their education. He was quoted as saying, and I quote, "Education is the most powerful tool you can use to change the world," close quote. However, Chairperson, what saddens me is that these words do not ring true for thousands of great art teachers who are not respected, are not paid accordingly, and struggle to offer our children with a tool of good quality education to effectively change the world. Preschool education's importance is well documented. Early childhood education is an integral part of a child's development, enabling them to be prepared personally and socially for their future. It is here that the child is introduced to numbers, shapes, and letters. It is also here that the child learns to socialize, to develop motor skills, and to concentrate. Whilst the Department of Basic Education has steadily focused on access of children to this grade, this has unfortunately not been accompanied by quality of the implementation of the grade in accordance with Outcome 11. Grade R is the reception class, which according to the National Development Plan falls within the 5 priorities listed. In reality, however, not much reflects that early childhood development is prioritized qualitatively in our education system. Chairperson, I have consulted many experts, unions, teachers, facilitators, and others on this subject matter over a couple of months, and what I have come to learn from delving deeper into the topic of great art teachers, not only in KwaZulu-Natal, but across the country, is that some realities are quite frankly shocking. One would expect every school to have infrastructure that would enhance teaching and learning to ensure a strong foundation for our country's children. Yet only a few schools within each circuit management, district, province get provided with appropriate classrooms and play centers. The Department of Basic Education has up to this far been shying away from taking full responsibility of grade R. Much as the DBE 2030 plan clearly states that grade R will be prioritized, it is not clear how this will be achieved without a concrete implementation plan. DBE sometimes disowns grade R education. That is, DBE leaves grade R education to provinces, to sister departments like social development and public works, without a clear framework of how provinces should provide for grade Rs. The department always emphasized that since there is no legislation that regulates grade R, even its teachers do not fall within its mainstream. Hence, the employment of teachers is disjointed. There are those who have already been absorbed by basic education into the employment system of the department. There are those who are still SGB employed but paid a stipend by the department. There are those who are in the service but paid a stipend by either the Department of Public Works or the Department of Social Development. The stipend paid by each responsible department is not the same. This is alarming. Grade R teachers are not employed in terms of the Employment of Educators Act. The grade R class was initially introduced years ago when not qualified educators were available. Thus, people with a level 4 certificate had to be appointed. Since the early childhood development level 4 certificate is not a minimum requirement for employment as an educator, a special arrangement was made to allow these teachers into the system, but they are referred to as practitioners. As years progressed, these practitioners took opportunities to upskill themselves until qualifying for a diploma. In the recent years, many have qualified to be appointed in the mainstream, yet they are always told that there are no posts in the mainstream. They are therefore compelled to work under unfavorable conditions, and as a result, they are always open to unfair treatment by the officials within the departments of education. Chairperson, we must, as public representatives and legislators, find amicable solutions to fix this anomaly. My consultation with relevant stakeholders and the unions have brought my attention to the above-mentioned scenarios. Grade R teachers' conditions of employment are not regulated nationally, which leaves provinces to do as they please. Grade R teachers with similar qualifications and doing the same job are but earning according to what each province can offer. There are provinces that are doing better on salaries, like in Gauteng, for instance. But even there, a grade R teacher earns substantially lower than an ordinary educator in the mainstream of the department. The worst provinces on salaries for grade R teachers, or stipend, as others prefer to call it, even with qualifications, are the Eastern Cape, KZN, and Limpopo, paying less than 7,000 rand per month. In his 2017-18 budget speech, the Eastern Cape Education MEC committed to creating more than 900 posts for grade R educators in that province. Up to now, very little of this has been achieved. To compound matters, grade R teachers are not provided for with sick leave, maternity leave, or family responsibility leave. The matter is worsened when in some schools and provinces, when grade R teachers are to take leave, they are forced to get locum tenens whom they pay themselves out of the little they get paid. Grade R teachers in Eastern Cape, KZN, Limpopo, Free State, and in some corners of Gauteng are always threatened with losing their jobs if they exercised their constitutional right of joining a trade union. They are always harshly reminded that they are not employed under terms and conditions of the Educators Act, and whatever stipend they earn could be cut off any day without following due processes. Provinces do as they please with grade R educators, and they are not allowed their basic conditions of employment. The conditions of service for grade R teachers around the country leaves a lot to be desired. The underfunding of grade R is further compounded by the inter-provincial spending inequalities. Some provinces do not abide by the national norms and standards for grade R funding. The differences in spending is due to, amongst other things, the misdirection of funds, cross-subsidization, and money earmarked for grade R finding its way to other educational needs. However, when provinces want to implement their restructuring plans, grade R teachers get severely affected. For example, when grade R learners drop even by one learner, these teachers are the ones that suffer the most. The same with school closures. They either get moved without their consent or lose jobs completely if it appears that the numbers of grade R teachers is beyond the number of available classes. Chairperson and honorable members, it cannot be that the very foundation of our children's education, which relies on good qualified personnel, a reception grade that is a building block for the future, its teachers get so sidelined, disrespected, treated inhumanely, and yet we expect them to perform exceptionally. It is simply unfair that grade R teachers, who in some instances face the harshest realities in our communities, are paid pittance and struggle to make ends meet. Chairperson, the IFP proposes that all grade R educators in the country must be absorbed into the employment system of the education fraternity in the department as soon as possible. We propose that all grade R teachers in the country must be allocated the same conditions of service that are afforded the rest of the teaching profession in the country. Similarly, the grade R teaching practitioners who are still in the employ of other departments must be formalized and absorbed within the Department of Basic Education and upskilled accordingly. It is noticeable that whilst policy has concentrated on quantity, quality has been sidelined because of some major challenges that have been ignored. These are a poorly developed curriculum for grade R, poorly trained and poorly paid teachers, misdirected and inadequate funding. This is a move that does not necessarily need any legislative review. If need be, the House may need to impress upon National Treasury and the government of the day to fund this move properly. Indeed, if this is a caring government. Actions speak louder than words, Chairperson. There is certainly a moral, ethical, and humane argument to be made when our children, the nation's future leaders, are undergoing foundation phase education, which is not up to standard, and when their educators are ill-treated within the education fraternity. The IFP wishes to lobby support for our proposals from every political party represented in the National Council of Provinces today. Honorable members, we must act now. I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. May I therefore call on the Minister for Basic Education, Honorable Motshekga.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chair. Let me again thank the NCOP for giving us the opportunity to be part of this debate, and wish to declare upfront that broadly the provision of ECD of early childhood development is a shared responsibility between the Departments of Social Development and the Departments of Education. Social development specializes in areas of 0 to 4, but there are also departments like Health and Home Affairs also who play lesser essential roles in the sector. So, Chairperson and honorable members, I'm happy to report that ourselves as DBE and Social Development are currently working together to conduct due diligence on existing childhood education centers, and this is part of the process to move the core responsibility of the provisioning and the monitoring of ECD centers to DBE as envisaged by the NDP. There are currently approximately 18,000 registered ECD centers in the country providing services to children from birth to 0. But in terms of grade R mandate, the provision of grade R is currently not part of the compulsory basic education model in our country. So the white paper, which was published in 2001, states, and I quote, "The state will follow a phased approach to introduce publicly funded grade R classes across the whole public schooling system towards a compulsory and universal provision by 2010. But due to challenges, the scaling up was moved from 2014 and later to 2019 in line with the NDP stipulations. So the legislative imperative regarding the mandate of the provision of grade R had implications, especially in terms of funding, as grade R provisioning was not a fully funded function of government. As a result, this had a direct effect on the position of grade R provisioning on the list of priorities of provincial education departments, given the reality of competing priorities. And Bob McCall is not let of caring or being an uncaring a government, but we're saying there have been also pressures in terms of competing priorities. Currently, grade R is funded through the national norms and standards for funding grade R, which stipulates that the provincial education departments must provide for grade R learners at 70% of the level 1 total learners. And the cost must include teacher provisioning, and this funding level, together with other considerations such as availability of infrastructure, have an impact, not only on the number of places for grade R learners at public schools, but the number of educators or practitioners, as well as the level of remuneration. The funding of grade R is provided for under Program 5 of the Provincial Budget Program. The sub-program grade R in public schools provides for centers in public ordinary schools, whilst the sub-program grade R in community centers provides for grade R in community centers. So the allocated grade R funding should cater for both personnel and non-personnel cost drivers. And the funding for 2015 to 2016 and 2018-2019 per province has increased by 28%, which is an average of 5.6% per annum. KwaZulu-Natal, which is the subject of our discussion, had the highest growth in the funding over this period, with a growth of 47%, which is an average, and I think the MEC will elaborate on that. And it's Gauteng which had the lowest growth. But due to funding challenges, most provincial education departments have consistently increased enrollments of grade R learners in public schools. And again, the average growth in enrollment between 2014 and 2017 was 7%. KZN in Eastern Cape, for instance, increased its learners to 809,000, whereas the Eastern KZN also increased to about 777,000 learners. In terms of minimum, because there's a recommendation that we have to absorb everybody tomorrow. But in terms of the minimum requirements for teacher qualifications, Chair, the minimum requirement for teaching in public schools is NQF level 6, or a 3-year teaching qualification. Currently, only 33% of these teachers and practitioners meet the minimum teacher qualifications, and thus can be employed as fully qualified teachers in the mainstream. So as indicated above, the remuneration of grade R teachers is one of the areas that is directly affected by the current mandate and the level of funding. The common practice that grade R teachers, practitioners are paid a monthly stipend. The level of payment taking into account its own needs. Only Northwest Province, it's only Northwest Province that appoints all grade R teachers in educator posts as fully qualified educators and are paid the normal educator salaries. And the rest of provincial education departments pay most of their teachers, practitioners employed in public schools a monthly stipend, which range from 5,000 for a level 4, so they're not paid the same. Most provinces will pay 5,000 for level 4 qualification, and level 6 qualification provinces are paying 10,800. In KZN, it pays a flat rate of 6.5, and KZN is not the lowest. Actually, it's Mpumalanga at 6.3, which is the lowest paying province comparatively. So it's not very accurate that KZN pays the lowest. So critical to note is that most provincial education departments are progressively converting the employment of fully qualified grade R educators, practitioners, into fully paid teachers through provincial determinations, because it depends on the availability of resources and also the qualification of the very practitioners that provinces are able to absorb them in their system. But one of the extremes in the Free State is, actually Free State and Gauteng, that all grade R teachers or practitioners are employed on contracts and paid stipend. And the other extreme is KZN, Mpumalanga, and Northwest, that all qualified grade R teachers are paid as teachers receiving full salary with full benefits. It must be noted, however, that Northwest and Northern Cape inherited had inherited ECD practitioners who were qualified as teachers. That's why it was easy for them to absorb, and they were already in the system. In Limpopo, grade R teachers are funded 100% until 2015, when the department decided to hire them again on 3 years contracts, again being forced on. Again, the MECs here will explain, but because also of financial constraints and the difficulties that the province was experiencing in meeting its obligations. So also important to note is that provincial education departments, through sub-program on funding of grade R in community centers, does provide for funding. In the 2018-2019 policy statement, the MEC for KZN, my colleague who's here, did indicate that the province is considering an upward adjustment to the stipends paid to grade R practitioners. In addition, he also indicated that the province has provided 1,000 practitioners who were placed on ECD centers, particularly in creches. And of the 1,000 practitioners, 572 were awarded bursaries to register Umfolozi TVET College to improve their qualifications to level 4. And there are lots of programs that we have also as a sector where we're working with ECD practitioners to assist them to scale their skills so that they can qualify. When the posts arrive, they can qualify to be absorbed as full-time teachers. Because as I said, Chair, only 33% of them will qualify in any case if we're going to absorb them tomorrow, let alone that it's not within our budget, it's not within our mandate immediately as DBE, and there is a plan which is on the table to deal with the matters from 2019, because again, it's determined by our budgets and plans. Whilst we feel as the National Department that the initiative of KZN is very plausible, but we have also advised them to be very cautious and avoid creating possible legitimate expectations across the system when they are not sure if they will have the adequate post and funding for the posts that they are undertaking. It's the same thing with the Eastern Cape. I think it will speak to itself about what member has said about the commitment to absorb, because it's dependent on a number of factors, funding and qualifications. But Chair, I have to admit that funding for the provision of grade R has not been adequate. Said that we're not running away. And we also, as I say, on an ongoing basis, are engaged with unions because we agreed with most of the matters that the member has raised about even those that are qualified don't have the necessary benefits required which are received by other members in the sector. However, most provinces have progressively increased the provision of grade R, as shown by the steady rise in the enrollment of learners in public schools. In addition, provinces have progressively absorbed qualified, I must underline, grade R teachers into their teacher post establishments despite the financial constraints they face. So going forward, Chair and honorable members, the DBE is committed to the universalization of grade R by 2019. Through the processes within the sector, including engagements with teacher unions in the Education Labor Relations Council, various options of resourcing are being considered. And these include the areas of infrastructure, teacher supply, and other major resources. So additional resources to reach 100% funding of grade R remains the main challenge and the risk that may delay the achievements of this universalization by 2019. The sector must be conscious of, including the existing funding gaps between provincial education departments, as well as the shrinking power within the shrinking buying power within the sector. And the sector must also prepare for the potential bulge in the inflow of learners who will otherwise enroll in private community institutions. Because currently the advantage that parents who can afford do send their children to private institutions, which relieves the state to a very limited extent. And when we do universalization, obviously there's going to be a bulge, which will really even increase the challenges. But I want to say, Chair, as I conclude, that I'm sure, Babu Kauda, if everything equal, some of the recommendations will have been implemented yesterday, because we are aware of the challenges, we're engaging with unions, with members, and we are conscious of all the difficulties that ECD practitioners are going through. And it's something that we are on an ongoing basis through Treasury and also Cabinet are trying to find ways, because mainly, as I say, it's both funds, not lack of caring or unwillingness, but it's really mainly the question of funding, but also the skills of the people we inherited. As I say, even if we had the money, we'll not be able to inherit all of them in terms of the current training requirements. And I think that's something we're also engaging with social development, because as you correctly say, ECD is one of the most important levels in our system, and that's where you want the best qualified teachers. And I think to be suicidal to absorb FUSTIT as they stand. If you look at systems like Finland, for instance, ECD practitioners are trained longer than all other ordinary teachers, showing the importance of ECD as your foundational level of skill in education. So we really appreciate and agree with most of the points that you are saying, but Chair, we are saying it's not lack of awareness about the problems, it's not lack of caring, but it's reality that if wishes were horses, we'll all be riding and getting all the recommendations implemented tomorrow, but we can't lie to the public and say we'll do it tomorrow. It's not possible, though we will wish to do it. So we can't stand here and say we're going. I think ANC will speak for itself. It's not for lack of caring or lack of trying, but it's circumstances that confront us. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much. As there's no speakers list, I shall put the question and the question is agreed to. As the decision is dealt with in terms of KZN, I shall put the question and the question is agreed to. As the notice pickers list, I shall Thank you very much. I therefore call on Honorable Mpambo Sibukwan. Continue with the debate.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Chairperson, honorable members and fellow South Africans, education is continuously changing, but educators' salaries have not yet properly increased. Yet, grade R teachers are still paid stipends, Honorable Chairperson. And this does not reflect the amount of work they have to do. Yet, this is the foundation's phase, and the foundation kusakhiwo have to be solid. Honorable Chairperson, I just want to say, as the years go by, the job description of educators widens, and soon enough, educators are going to be known as more than educators. Grade R teachers are now seen as role models, educators and protectors for children of all ages. Considering we can agree that educators deserve more compensation than what they are currently receiving, and the minister has alluded to the fact of the ECD practitioners. Although teaching is regarded as a respectable and professional chairperson career, it is believed by both educators and non-educators that educators are mostly underpaid. When we look at teaching in the context of South Africa, we find that most educators remain dissatisfied with their remuneration to an extent that we have seen in our past and currently this year, strikes and pickets from union members, and the MEC has alluded to that. Given the country's national budget and the significant amount of money allocated to education, it does not make sense why teachers are not being prioritized and receiving salaries and increases they so rightly deserve. However, it is, if one were to consider South Africa's average student performance and compare it to the average teacher pay, it can be argued that teachers are in fact being overpaid. Given the apparent lack of productivity associated with their work, one of the main problems underlying this apparent lack of productivity could be the fact that our own teacher pay system barely differentiates between well and badly performing teachers. Although given the fact that there is little financial differentiation given to teachers regarding their educational attainment levels, years of experience and age groups compared to their non-teaching counterparts, the profession remains relatively unattractive to young individuals who are at the top end of the skills distribution in the country, and therefore may result in the entrance of lower quality candidates. If we specifically differentiate between the different levels of teachers, their work and their pay, the preschool teachers seem to be the most affected by low wages. Although it is often argued that this teaching is less demanding in terms of work and qualification, we cannot negate the fact that the preschool teachers play an essential role in building a child's success in the first and most fundamental years of school. They do more than just facilitate arts and crafts projects. They provide structure and help children with growth in their reading and writing skills, teach science, and help children understand themselves. Good quality preschool education and educators cannot only construct a solid foundation, but children to understand that what school is. Teachers use variety of methods to help children grow both cognitively and conceptually. A healthy, positive relationship with these teachers can make an exceptional difference in a child's success as they continue throughout primary school, high school, and even beyond. For years, we have sat in Parliament and listened to the ministers talk about the importance of basic education. We have set for the annual budget pitches, which stipulate the country's expenditure, but the large distribution to public education of preschool teachers remain disgruntled. This is largely since there are discrepancies that lie between their pay and increase and those of teachers teaching on other, more high levels. If the ministers can stand up on podiums and claim to understand the importance of funding of education at all levels, then it is time for the government to put their money where their mouth is. Although the government had addressed the issue of preschool teacher salaries and theoretically proposed increments, in April this year, the South African Democratic Teachers Union, USATU, had taken the picketing in KZN Education Department as an attempt to force the department to pay the promised and outstanding salaries increase to the grade R teachers, even though the outstanding amount was 15,000, an arguably insignificant amount compared to all the billions of rands pumped into basic education. Failure on the part of the department to pay the amount sends a negative message to these teachers. They feel undermined and worthless. How can we reasonably expect good performances from these teachers when they feel disrespected? And what message is the department sending to the aspiring good quality teachers that will come after them? Again, this is to be attributable to the maladministration and the mismanagement of funds in the department, whose problems not only affected KZN, but also the Northern Cape and the Eastern Cape as well. Hence, they're getting. It is therefore becoming a national issue for our government. There must be overarching responsibility taken not only on running of the department, but also in fighting against corruption and mismanagement of funds. The DA will hold this national government accountable, especially the Department of Basic Education, into taking the foundation stage seriously
Honourable Member, your time has expired.
And ensuring the phase is built solidly. The NC
Thank you very much. May I call on Honorable Makupula, MEC Eastern Cape. Order.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chairperson, honorable members, special delegates and officials present here today, and public members in the gallery. Today, the 12th of September, 2018, 41 years ago, a young life was lost in South Africa. 31 years old then, Steve Biko, killed by the system of police in the then, under the then South African government. Still a student at that time, starting to be a doctor, but frustrated and ended up joining politics and became a black conscious activist. He would have been 72 years today if he was still alive, and aspiring to be continuing with his education. And today we are here speaking about education, especially the grade R. I feel privileged for the opportunity to table the state of the early childhood development in the Eastern Cape, the funding and salaries of the grade R teachers. Obviously, the Minister has tabled the legislative and constitutional mandate of the sector of education. South African Constitution, Quality Public Education, South African Schools Act, and a number of other acts, including the Public Service Act and the Employment of Educator Act. But at a policy level, the White Paper 5 and the National Development Plan instructs the sector to provide especially early childhood development for grade R and classes that are before at the Grade R arrangement. Practically, each Department of Education at a provincial level, working with DBE, has to provide training and transport to training for pre-grade R practitioners, to provide services for the professional development of educators and the development of non-educators at the ECD sites. For the pre-grade R status, in 2018-19, the Department of the Eastern Cape has budgeted 23 million rand for the training of pre-grade R practitioners to achieve the required qualifications, which is NQF level 4 and the National Curriculum Framework. Eastern Cape Department of Education works in partnership with the Department of Social Development. At the moment, there are 1,720 ECD sites, that is for pre-grade R, registered with social development, and 1,300 not registered, which then therefore tells you that there are 1,700 pre-grade R practitioners and are funded by social development. The funding formula, which I believe is a national one, is 15 rand per child by social development. 6 rand goes to the practitioner, which in the province averages around 2,000 a month. 6 rand goes to administration, and 3 rand goes for stimulation, that is learning material and toys. And of those 1,720, 700 of them are currently undergoing training at NQF level 4. By the end of this year, they'll be fully qualified pre-grade R practitioners. Let me quickly come to grade R status. In 2018-19, the department in the province has budgeted 516 million for the professionally, for the development of grade R teachers. In February 2018, the department advertised, and this is where I would advise my dear Honorable Chair, Presiding Officer, members, it would be good, members, that before you come here and pronounce a statement, just to check when somebody said a statement the previous year, before coming here, just check what was the later said. I agree, the Honorable Member, last year I did pronounce, but it would be good to check that in February this year, yes, numbers might be small, we did advertise 417 posts for permanentizing the practitioners, making them permanent teachers. And so far, up to now, 260 of them are permanently employed as foundation phase educators with privileges and status of being educators. The process is going on. One of the things we've picked up, Honorable Chairperson, is that principals and SGBs, because the process is low, you hear what I'm saying, 417 in February. By now, 260 so far have been permanentized. What we pick up, why is the process low? Principals and SGBs are actually working out arrangements such that they favor the one who is here before being qualified. Now, when the post is advertised, in the shortlisting process, they are delaying processes such that the one who must win must be the one who was here. So having picked up that, we've said, no, what we must do, if you delay the process, we take the post and give it to another school, because you are not ready, you're still waiting for the one who is still undergoing training. These are some of the subjective factors that are in the process, Chairperson. Training in the grade R teaching diploma is underway for 1,464 practitioners. Of the 4,558 grade R practitioners in the province, 1,963 of them are professionally qualified, grade R diploma. Now, one of the challenges is that there are institutions, the roads, for instance, does not train people on the grade R diploma. It trains people on the B.Ed foundation phase. Now you appoint this educator who has got a B.Ed foundation as a grade R practitioner. Once inside the system, the person moves to being a foundation phase educator. So you have this vicious cycle, people come in as grade R practitioners, but once they get into the system, get to being applying for posts as foundation phase because your grade R had not yet been permanentized. Now we've said the requirement is for you to have a grade R diploma so that you are fixed to grade R and you get permanent and privileges just like a foundation phase educator. So there's no need to move to being a foundation phase educator. The training institutions are University of Northwest and the South African National Tutors Services. As I move towards a conclusion, Honorable Chairperson of the session, I did mention that there are 4,558 practitioners, of which 1,963 are professionally qualified. In conclusion, to save your time, Honorable Chairperson, the Eastern Cape is trying its level best to address and improve the state of early childhood development in the province, despite the formidable challenges. We're trying to give dignity to the grade R practitioners by giving them the status of being permanent foundation phase educators with all the accompanying benefits. We hope this will go a long way in strengthening the foundations of education in the province. I want to emphasize the fact that we respect lives of ordinary people. We do understand that the life of an ordinary person, however destitute, is worth 1,000,000 times more than the properties of the richest men in this world. And therefore, whatever the status of this practitioner, for this practitioner to do his or her level or optimum contribution, the practitioner deserves to be given what he or she deserves. And this is what we're striving for with the limited budgets and also these subjective challenges I've highlighted to you. We think we're on the right path. And for those who are doomsayers, we say continue to stand there. Your responsibility is to oppose. Whether we do the right thing, continue opposing. For you to measure how a person is moving or if there's motion. Motion is a relative thing. You can only notice that there's movement forward when there's somebody is moving backwards or backing you. Then you can start realizing that, there's movement going forward. So for those who are on the opposition side, thank you very much for being opposing, even opposing when we are doing the right things for the South Africans. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Order. May I call on Honorable Zwali to continue the debate?
Thank you, Chairperson of Council, the Honorable Minister for Basic Education, Mama Ejimsaha, MECs from provinces, the Mpopo province, as well as Eastern Cape, as well as my own province, KwaZulu-Natal, which province is the subject of debate today, Honorable Dlungwan. This is a very important debate, Chairperson and honorable members. We have discussed this subject in a way in our previous debates. But to kick off, I just wanted to quote what our President Cyril Ramaphosa said during the State of the Nation address in 2018, where he said, and I quote, "If we are to break the cycle of poverty, we need to educate children of the poor," close quotation. And we shall always be indebted to our stalwarts, one of which is Mama Albertina Sisulu, whose centenary we are celebrating this year. And I want to quote from a poem by Diana van der Beek during the funeral, where she said, "A stalwart political leader in your own right, a leader of standing, a shining example of honor, and a great achievement, yet you transcended political divisions in the interest of preserving the community. You were what all politicians should be," close quotation. And I also wanted to quote a poem by Maya Angelou that dedicated to President Nelson Mandela. When Nelson Mandela took the seat of presidency in his country, where formerly he was not even allowed to vote, we were enlarged by tears of pride as we saw Nelson Mandela's former prison guards invited courteously by him to watch from the front rows his inauguration. The Lord will set the table before the enemies. Undeniably, research studies have shown that the most important period of life for educational development is not when completing secondary school or entering university studies, but it is early stages, the foundation phase, which is the period from birth to the age 6. This is the period during which, at the age of 2.5 years already, a child has developed 50% of the brain capacity. Between the ages 5 to 6, the child already has developed 90% of the adult weight of the brain. That means the best trained teachers should actually go to the foundation phase, because that is where we need to invest the most. And the other problems, as they would manifest in the upper grades, would be resolved even at that stage. So it is my submission, and I concur with you, Honorable Kaula, as to say, let us rather invest more in the foundation phases, because that is the most important building block of the life of a child. At that level, the child is developed emotionally, cognitively, socially, the ability to communicate, numerically, the written skills. Those are all the developmental areas that are actually important even at that foundation phase. Yes, I agree with the Honorable Minister. We seek to do all that as ANC-led government, because we come from an area or an era where there was no policy for ECD, where the ECD sector was exclusively for the advantaged and for the privileged. There was literally nothing. They were the only people that were enjoying training, adequate training to be able to handle toddlers at that level. And we were totally excluded as black people. It was only when the ANC-led government took over that we began to think even that we must make arrangements to ensure that we cater for the ECD phase. Chairperson, I also want to acknowledge the fact that this is what the medium-term budget policy statement of 2017 says. Over the 3-year spending period ahead, the focus is to improve the quality of education by strengthening educator qualifications and providing appropriate learner and teacher support materials. So there is a political will. All that is a hurdle is the financial constraint that we are still facing as a country. But give us our finances, you actually see who the ANC is. In our 2014 manifesto, the ANC stated that teacher development will receive ongoing attention. Teacher colleges linked to universities will be reopened, and in-service teacher training intensified. Bursary programs will be used to improve teacher development. As I speak, the president also did allude to this one, where he said, the Funza Lushaka bursary has arranged that 39,500 teachers in the gateway subjects like mathematics, technology, and science will be given an opportunity to go and upgrade. Teachers that are studying technology are the teachers that we need for ECD, because in order for them to be effective and be able to use technology in the training of the young ones, they need to be trained technologically. So this bursary for 39,500 is no small effort in terms of attending to the issues of teacher development and teacher capacitation. Grade R, it is true, it's not a fully funded function, but it is true that the ALC-led government is taking strides to ensure that there is adequate funding for this. I know that an amount of about 500 million was set aside to ensure that the ECD centers are funded. There is a per capita allocation. There's always an allocation to ensure that the infrastructure in those areas where there are challenges is actually upgraded. And the allocation can go up to 100,000 per center. As I am drawing to the close, Chairperson, I do want to say in KZN, I know the MEC is here, I'm not going to elaborate, has put aside 1.2 or slightly over 1.2 billion for ECD. And whilst the stipend varies from province to province, as it was alluded to earlier on by Honorable Kaula, but it is from nothing. ECD education was privately owned and there was nothing given to the practitioners or teachers by government. But today we are seeing a situation where at least there is this 6,500 in KZN, 7,200 in Gauteng, and various amounts, varying sums in the different provinces. And we should acknowledge the fact that we are not moving from a state that was favorable. We have got 5,258 practitioners in KZN, and these are the ones that are receiving the stipend. And level 4 in particular is an accepted level where a teacher can begin to handle the toddlers. But we aspire that all ECD practitioners attain level 6. And we develop a policy that's going to standardize so that we know that everybody is getting almost the same amount in all the provinces. That is what the NC aspires to achieve. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Order. Call on Honorable Ndlungwana, MEC for Education for KZN.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, Deputy Chair of the NCOP, Honorable Chief Whip, Honorable members of the NCOP, Honorable Minister, and honorable colleagues from various provinces. We wish to thank this Honorable House for setting aside time to discuss this very important matter. We rise to address this Honorable House during the very important year of President Nelson Mandela and Mama Albertina Sisulu. Both Tata Mandela and Mayor Sisulu emphasized the importance of education in the success of our country. As the KwaZulu-Natal provincial government, we are following in the footsteps of these giants of our freedom. Our education system in the province is being designed continuously to develop a robust and enduring and self-sufficient nation. We are focusing on early childhood development through the primary, secondary, tertiary education, and through to the workplace skills development and adult education. I therefore wish to report to this Honorable House that the Provincial Integrated Early Childhood Development Action Plan has contributed immensely to the improved access to ECD services in our province. To date, the province of KwaZulu-Natal has over 200,000 grade R learners as we speak. In addition, the department has created more than 1,300 state-paid grade R posts over and above the post-provisioning norm of the schools in order to improve the quality of teaching and learning. So it's in addition. I must also point out that the KwaZulu-Natal Department of Education has over 5,258 practitioners in various ECD sites spread out throughout the province. About 572 of these were awarded bursary to Mfolozi College to further their studies for qualification at level 4 ECD. This ANC government takes serious the issues of ECD, hence giving bursaries to our practitioners. First, an important factor to consider when dealing with this issue is the size of the administration. Therefore, KZN is the most province with numbers of practitioners, followed by Eastern Cape with 4,558 and Gauteng 4,194. Honorable Chairperson, I must highlight here that when we talk about these numbers, because in KwaZulu-Natal alone, the number of schools that we have is 6,052. So it's not just a small issue we're dealing with here. It's a serious administration we're handling that we are talking about. It is very important to point out that great art practitioners are not employed in the same way and in the same conditions as those other public service employees. As government, we are only subsidizing their salaries through the stipends. The stipends amounts varies from provinces to province. Currently in our province, KwaZulu-Natal, they are earning 7,250. And this is factual. This makes our province, KwaZulu-Natal, the third best paying province after Gauteng and Western Cape. And therefore defeats the statement made by Honorable Kaula of the IFP, claiming that KwaZulu-Natal is the lowest paying province for ECD. This is evidenced by the number of practitioners, as I've mentioned, that we have in the province, and as well as the amount per province that we compare with other provinces. Leaders of Kaula's caliber must be careful when making such statements, which are not informed by facts. We expect more from you, Honorable Kaula, my friend. If you were saying, Honorable Kaula, that these Induna are paid more than great art practitioners, we would have agreed, because that is factual. That has been the issue that we've been arguing in the province. You know, in our quest to get more money to pay our great art. And we know you can't raise this issue that I'm raising because you know what it will do to you and your IFP. Honorable Kaula, history does not have blank pages. And I would like to remind you that the erstwhile KwaZulu government that you and your father were part of never provided any infrastructure for schooling, let alone ECD. Our parents were forced to build their own schools. I never attended grade R myself. And at the time that the IFE government never cared about our people, never prioritized education when they were in power. And today, you will stand in front of our NCOP and raise the issue as if you cared. The fact that our great R practitioners are generally paid lower throughout the country requires our combined urgent attention. It cannot be correct that people who are doing such an important work are not being remunerated appropriately, and even at a level below Izinduna. The permanent solution would be to avail more resources to employ them as teachers. For this to happen, they would have to be qualified, as we have started providing bursaries for them. The policy direction of the government at this stage is to incrementally do so starting from 2019 with those that are qualified. We are, however, have to fund budget to kickstart such a project. This NCOP can and must be in the lead in advocating for this to happen. Our view is that once they are employed as qualified teachers with the same conditions of service, the discrepancies in the amount of stipends they earn will be the thing of the past. The improvement in their condition of service will also be negotiated at the Public Service Coordinating Bargaining Council, like it is the case with all other employees in the public service. Honorable members, we value the role the grade R practitioners as engines for the production of knowledge. It is for this reason that we have called on all stakeholders in education, including our private sector, to work with us in investing in early childhood development, with the practitioners being the main focus. As I conclude, Honorable Chair, we are very determined to work with all the stakeholders, in particular with our Minister, in ensuring that we change the conditions of our ECD practitioners, because the work that they do is so important. I thank you.
Thank you very much. I therefore call on MEC Khechepe, MEC for Education Limpopo.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. The Honorable Minister for Basic Education, my colleagues, the MECs of various provinces, honorable members of the NCOP, ladies and gentlemen. We feel honored and privileged to be invited to participate in today's event. This is an important issue to debate, as early childhood development continues to be an important stage in the education of our children. ECD is also crucial in the development of a stable and well-adjusted adult. Any work done in the best interest of our children is the kind of work that we must do and actively pursue in creating a safe and stable environment. We stand here today with the full knowledge that the National Development Plan is our anchor and blueprint on our quest as a country to create a united, non-racial, non-sexist, and democratic South Africa. ECD becomes the foundation on which we build such a country. This is a vision we must be reminded of as we celebrate the centenary of both President Mandela and Mama Albertina Sisulu. And we must accordingly double our efforts, rededicate ourselves to working with everybody to effectively and efficiently deliver ECD and ensure that the legacy of hard work and selflessness define us. It is critical that departments responsible for different aspects of ECD cooperate in the planning, implementation, and monitoring of ECD provisioning. We believe very strongly that laying a solid foundation in the life of our young citizens, we will ensure that the future is brighter for them and the province. We are aware that the provisioning for children younger than 5 requires a combination and a variety of programs that draws in several departments, levels of government, NGOs, CBOs, families, parents, and children. Working in collaborative manner, we will ensure that there is no child left behind. As Limpopo Province, 2,325 out of 2,385 primary schools are offering grade R, and the provisioning and ECD provisioning was at 92.9% in the financial year 2017-18. 230,898 children access services in registered ECD centers, and 99,751 fully subsidized. We have 1,110 practitioners teaching grade R across the province. The practitioners teaching grade R earn a stipend of 7,000 across the board, and we are engaged on a 3-year renewable contract with the department. The 7,000 stipend is an improvement from the previous 5,000, and negotiations are at an advanced stage at the provincial bargaining chamber to increase the 7,000 by 7%. Practitioners outside grade R don't get stipend from the department, The subsidy they get from the Department of Social Development pay practitioners and feed the learners. Grade R in Limpopo is primarily in schools, and there are 3,097 registered ECD community centers which offer the national curriculum statement. The Department of Education is still responsible for the training of practitioners in the community sites on the national curriculum framework. In our attempt to improve the pedagogic skills and input of our grade R practitioners to date, 573 practitioners have registered to study with the Northwest University for a 3-year NQF Level 6 qualification. And the first cohort will finish this year. We are doing all this because we know that besides resources, the quality of the delivery of ECD curriculum hinges on the quality of practitioners. Early childhood education is a stage which lays the foundation for children's lifelong learning and the whole personal development. It articulates the primary, secondary, and tertiary education to form an entire spectrum of education. We have accordingly, in the past 2 financial years, ensured that our learners in grade R have outdoor equipment and indoor resources that assist in developing both gross and fine motor skills. We have provided all this learner support material, and we have ensured that all the program activities in ECDs are implemented in the manner that enhances learning. Furthermore, in our efforts to improve the quality of programs in early childhood development, we have forged partnership with Molteno Institute, Room to Read and Save the Children, starting from pre-grade R. It is our understanding as various sectors and stakeholders that investment at this stage of life will be compensated by the creation of a society that is switched on and more equitable. Of course, having sufficient resources is one thing, but doing what we can with what we have is another. The challenge before us is to provide good beginnings for the hundreds of children through education, healthcare, nutrition, and social protection. It is in this regard that we must view ECD as extremely important, ensuring lifelong of learning and proven to produce lifetime impact. Children with quality education tend to advance to higher education and obtain employment, having higher earning as well as savings, and provide higher contribution to social security. All of us here must work every day for children, and we must provide a social protection floor below which no child can fall in extreme poverty and deprivation. Every child should enjoy learning and stimulation. Every child should be able to live free of hunger, deprivation, and poverty. We shall continue strengthening our strategies and interventions that will improve physical, intellectual, and social development of our children's early life. We know as basic education that investment in ECD can deliver larger financial payoffs. It can minimize the levels of school dropouts and bring down repetition rates of grades in schools. It can increase levels of participation in society and lead to sustained improved quality of basic services such as health, social development, and education. Let me conclude by urging each of us to learn from the other in order to develop better strategies and early childhood services. When I say better, I mean better for development of children, the creation of a better world that is more just, equitable, and peaceful. We must all remain mindful of our responsibilities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honorable Chabangu. Order, honorable members. Honorable members, order. If there's a birthday, honorable member, you're extremely out of order now. Because if it is the birthday of the member, you should have rose on a motion. You can't be singing happy birthday in the house when the member is supposed to participate in the debate. Next time in the house, rise on a motion with or without a notice, congratulating or wishing a member a happy birthday. That is only order. No, you're out of order. That's what I'm saying. Whether you think it's a serious, Honorable Mokweli, I think now you are deliberate. Thank you very much. Can you continue, Honorable Member?
Thank you, Deputy Chair, for wasting my time.
No. Honorable Chabangu, can you withdraw that?
No ways.
I did not waste your time.
You wasted my time.
No. There is no time that has been wasted here. Your time is
Can
still
I
here.
check?
No. Your time is still
I
here.
withdraw.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. If I were the MEC of Natal, I would never have mentioned the salary that is given to the teachers as a stipend, because teaching is a noble profession. It's not a child's play. At every level of our education system is collapsing, has no capacity, and is unable to meet the needs of the learners. Whether at preschool, primary school, high school, or university, the black child has to fight to get an education. The reason we are having this debate is because the Department of Education in KwaZulu-Natal for over a year did not give grade R teachers in that province their salary adjustment and what is due to them. I'm ready. Protection.
Honorable Mfundisi.
Aye.
Withdraw that. You
Mfundisi
can't say to
with
the-
oath.
Can I make a ruling on this matter, Honorable Member? Okay.
But government failing to pay grade R teachers what they are own speaks to broader problem in our education system. The ANC has no appreciation for education and the role it can play in lifting our peoples out of poverty. And you see this across our education system. Early childhood development and preschool are the foundation phases for any child's education. And growth as a functional member of society, it is where they learn the skill they will need for the rest of their lives, regardless of which department they fall within, minister, let alone SASA, which is corrupt to the core. But what kind of preschool do the children of this country go to? They definitely don't go to the same preschool that the minister and members of the executive send their children and grandchildren to. They get private preschooling, and this is one of the reasons why they don't care about the quality of the school and teachers. I can promise you that if the Minister of Education had to send her children or grandchildren to a government preschool in KwaZulu-Natal, these teachers would have got their salary increase long ago. It is this lack of commitment, care, mismanagement, and corruption why we still have school made out of mud, school without electricity and water, and thousands of schools without proper sanitation. This was all meant to have been a thing of the past already, but 2 years after the deadline this government set itself, the children of the poor must still use pit toilets, sit in leaking in classrooms, and share textbooks. Our children are being set up for failure. You have over 9,000 teaching vacancies at schools across the country, and that excludes KwaZulu-Natal. You have a backlog of 1,300 special schools, while children at private schools are learning to write, code, and software. 11,000 primary schools in this country don't have computers, and 5,000 high schools don't have internet connection. How are we preparing our children for the jobs of the future when many will not learn how to operate a computer until they are adults. It is because of the failures in the basic education system that young people are also struggling at the tertiary level, and many come to university and colleges without the basic skills they need, and often at the disadvantage to choose who went to Middle C or private schools. But instead of supporting young black South Africans who have been disadvantaged every step of the way, government only excludes them even further through high fees and a NEFSA system that is failing dismally. But unlike preschool learners, university and college students are old enough to be conscious and have agency, and that is why they demand the fees must fall. For this, they are persecuted, arrested, brutalized, and victimized, but the struggle they fought was true and genuine. It wasn't just struggle for university fees to fall, it was deeper than that and symbolized more. It was struggle to change our education system so that it equips and empowers the black child instead of disadvantaging and excluding them. Yes, this debate was meant to focus on underpaying of art teachers.
Honorable member.
Yes, thank you very much.
May I call on Honorable Hatting? Continue the debate.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Chair. I firstly would like to thank colleague Honourable Kahula for bringing this very important issue for debate in this House. Only last week we had a debate in this House about our nation's readiness for the fourth industrial revolution, a gradual change in what the economy will demand, and how adequately our youth need to be prepared to embrace this exciting future. There is no debate about the benefits and crucial importance of ECD, and specifically grade R education in laying of the foundation for a child's lifelong learning. There is a debate about grade R education and the mess that we find grade R education in this country. Honourable Chair, the Minister also stated that this problem that we have was recognized in the proposals of the Education White Paper, number 5, published in 2001, and that is 17 years ago, in which it was stated that the state will follow a phased approach to introduce publicly funded grade R classes across the whole public by 2010. Phased in and done by 2010. The Minister said, unfortunately, the Minister who came here empty-handed left in a hurry. I don't know why she doesn't regard this debate as important. Perhaps it says something that she didn't want to participate further in this debate. But the state will follow a phased approach. Minister said 2010 couldn't be met, 2014 couldn't be met, and now it's 2019. But, Honourable Deputy Chair, we know that will also not be met because of the long list of reasons that the Minister lamented about: funding, lack of funding. It also stated in that white paper that the state will address funding grade R in public schools, and that this approach will favour the most disadvantaged in society by poor schools being brought into the program first, and due to more favourable per learner funding for poorer schools. Honourable Deputy, that is not happening. The people worst affected by this are actually the poorest of the poor. Now, the Minister didn't come here with any solutions. She came empty-handed. Also, the 3 deployed MECs, Honourable Makupulo, didn't bring any solutions to this House. He also left. But I thought you have to tend to the court cases that's now being brought to against his department, where Legal Resource Center has brought a high court case against him for having 12 classes of 80 children per class, more than 80 children per class, and even 2 classes of more than 100 children per class in one school only. And sitting with a problem of 3,000 underqualified educators in his province. Honorable Lugwana, you know, coming here empty-handed like your minister, and then blame Honorable Kahula and his father for your failures is simply not on. There appear to be no solutions that you can bring to this forum. The reality is that I don't think you even read the title of this debate. It's about low salaries paid by the government of South Africa to grade R teachers, especially in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, your province. Now, Honorable Getlepe come here and present a stipend of 7,500 per month as a solution. It is an insult. It is really an insult. It's no solution. It's an insult. The reality is that all in different provinces, different systems, no province could actually deliver on the white papers 17 years ago, and with the first target date already 8 years ago. Now, why are we in such a mess? And remember, the function of offering publicly funded grade R is laid down in the section, is an obligation in part of the schools, part of schools in terms of section 21L and 21M of the South African Schools Act. Now, why didn't it happen? Why is grade R education hamstrung by inadequate funding with different funding models in each of the 9 provinces? Why do we still have 80% of grade R educators being underqualified? Why are educators in general only being paid a stipend with no additional benefit, i.e. pension, medical aid, contributions, etc.? Until properly qualified grade R educators are employed, our children will continue to pay the price. But we don't have to go to the President Ramaphosa's State of the Nation address. We have to go back to 27 to a person with the name of Jacob Zuma, announced free higher education. And who is the major sufferers?
Honorable Member, your time has expired.
It is basic education.
Honorable Nagedi, can you continue the debate?
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chairperson, Honorable our Minister, MECs and other special delegates here present, honorable members, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable Chairperson, as already indicated, this debate takes place on the day which 41 years ago in 1977, one of the freedom fighters and intellectuals to ever be produced by South Africa, Stephen Bantu Biko, was brutally murdered by the apartheid regime. In one of his inspiring quotes, Biko said, and I quote, "The most potent weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed," close quotes. It is therefore relevant that our topic today deals with the shaping of the mind of a child, especially an African child. These are the children that Dada Nelson Mandela regarded as, and I quote, "the rock on which our future will be built." Our greatest asset as a nation, the leaders of our country, the ones who will be creators of our national wealth, care for and protect our people, close quotes. Grade R is a key year in a child's educational development because it focuses on helping children take important steps towards independence while teaching them vital social skills.
there is also empirical evidence that if learners are not school ready, they may suffer from learning problems in formal education. One such evidence is contained in the 2017 Stellenbosch University study, wherein researchers compared the academic performance of learners between grade 1 and 6 who had completed grade R and those who had not. The study focused specifically on maths and children's home language and found that grade R had little impact in South Africa and amounted to about 12 days extra maths instruction and 50 days extra home language instruction, which is relatively little when you take into consideration that there are about 200 school days in a year. It also found that while grade R gives kids in affluent school some advantage, it makes no measurable difference to kids in poorer school. This is because these schools often don't have enough trained teachers, support networks for learners, and support from parents. This implies that instead of grade R narrowing the gap between children's performance in wealthier and poorer schools by giving all children the same foundation when they start school, it seems to widen the gap. The question, therefore, is, does this mean grade R is a waste of time? The answer to this question is not at all. Psychologists opine that despite these negative findings in maths and home languages, grade R helps children to get used to school environment and also makes them feel at ease and used to what is expected of them. This is more so where children go to the same primary school where they completed grade R. So there should be no doubt that grade R is important in the education system of a nation, especially a nation like ours. That is why our education policy makes it the first stage of the foundation phase of our basic education system. According to the current National Curriculum and Assessment Policy Statement, there are certain assessment standards that should be achieved by the end of grade R year. A grade 1 learner is expected to be physically, cognitively, affectively, normatively, socio-culturally, and linguistically ready for a solid start to his or her school career. Linguistic and cognitive readiness implies that a learner is able to understand the concepts used in the language of learning and teaching of the foundation phase. However, grade R is not yet compulsory, unlike grade 1 to 9, which are in terms of South African School Act. And this is something that needs to be changed as a matter of urgency. I therefore fully support the Department of Basic Education's plan to make grade R compulsory. The null compulsoriness that the compulsoriness has led it to be dealt with differently by each province and thus not standardized. It is regarded as part of teacher content knowledge development program, and each province does its own thing when it comes to teacher development and ensuring the improvement of content knowledge. When it comes to remuneration of teachers, grade R is not recognized for staffing and salary purposes as being part of the schooling system. Grade R teachers receive stipends as opposed to salaries, as has already been indicated by various MECs. This means that they are not employees of various provincial departments of education, despite them rendering services, those essential services. Also, although all provinces have the budget for the stipends, these are not uniform. Some provinces are paying more than the others because they have more resources. This is also not uniformity in what, there is also no uniformity in what their conditions of services are. As a result, each province deals with these teachers differently. This is why, Honorable Kaula, KZN does not pay the same stipends as Gauteng and Western Cape, and the MEC was able to elaborate on this. But I do agree that this must not indeed be the case. This is so. The stipends for grade R training have been part of the Bachelor of Education degree since 2002. However, here one must understand the inherent dynamics or unintended consequences that are part of this. And this is that though this training are expected to feed more primary teachers, into the system. This does not happen in practice. Once students qualify with a BEd degree, they tend to apply for grade 1, 2, or 3 posts because of financial and promotional implications. This means ECD are in most cases left with and to grade R teachers that are appointed by school governing bodies, which are paid less than half the salaries of departmentally appointed teachers and have no medical or pension benefits. The ECD-related budget allocation are thus made at provincial level. As a result, this ECD-specific reporting in budget books to National Treasury and to National Treasury on budgets and performance indicators is also not standardized across provinces. Indeed, some provinces do not seem to report on ECD budgets and indicators at all. This non-reporting in terms of budgeting has serious ramifications. National Treasury will not make specific allocation to or for items that are not in the provincial plans. Provinces, especially the rural ones, will then continue having backlogs due to shortages of funds, as KZN has attested on several occasions. This will then, in the long run, negatively affect the attainment of the medium-term strategic framework targets, especially outcome 1 dealing with attainment of quality basic education. But as I said, this is an issue that the government is attending to, and it's not an easy to resolve because of its dynamic, among others because of 1, a large number of these teachers are not qualified, and 2, they don't have that minimum qualification in grade R teaching. They are doing the work, but they are not formally employed. The grade is formal, it is recognized in the education system, but there is no formal assessment. There is also a need for the curriculum and the teacher's minimum qualification to be agreed on for them to be fully integrated into the education system. These are some of those things that are taking long to be finalized. We note the concrete steps that some of our provinces are taking regarding training and employment of teachers that are providing services to our children in the foundation phase, including forging partnerships with like-minded organizations amidst serious financial constraints, not because of corruption, but because of what has been explained earlier on. We welcome the commitment by the minister that they are working on ensuring that this phase, especially grade R, is universalized, especially making sure that from next year, additional resources are actually made available. ANC, as a party, expect this intervention to be implemented like yesterday. And I'm sure ANC government is more than committed to the ideal of empowering all children, especially black children.
Can you just take your seat? On what point are you rising on?
I'm standing on the point of order, Chair, to make you aware that the minister and the MECs are not here. We are debating on our own. That is how ANC operates. Thank you.
No, that's not a point of order. I think it's an observation that you have made.
Yes, as I was saying, I'm sure ANC government that is committed to the ideal of empowering all children, especially black children, to be able to reach their full potential, as Pico fought and died for, will not rest until this dream is realized. This is because the ANC believe in Tata Nelson Mandela's teaching that, and I quote, the true character of society is revealed in how it treats its children. And indeed, as O.R. Tambo said, and I quote, a nation that does not take care of its youth or children does not have a future and does not deserve one. I'm encouraged that as members of this House, we are generally, seems to be at one in terms of what needs to be done. And therefore, let us unite and make sure that we work together to deepen and speed up implementation of our plans to ensure a better future for our children. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, because this is not the first time this issue is raised, I didn't want to respond to the charges by Honorable Hatti on the absence of the minister and the other speakers. I think we need to understand this exercise. First and foremost, just to say that it's a subject for discussion by who? By the National Council of Provinces. And if there are MECs from any other province or a member of the executive who's got an interest on a subject for discussion and therefore avail him or herself to participate in the discussion, there's nothing that forces that minister. One, there is no, if you look at the speakers list, for instance, no, go to your rules. Go to your rules and look at them. In the beginning, there is no way where in the speakers list where the minister is subjected to respond to the debate as if we are discussing a budget vote, for instance. So, yes, we are discussing a subject matter as sponsored by a member of this House. And as members of this House, we are discussing that subject matter. So I'm trying to bring this thing to our attention that we shouldn't point and want to blame other people who have shown interest. In actual fact, we should appreciate the fact that they have shown interest to participate in the discussion and so forth. That is our rules. That is our rules. Not unless we go to the Rules Committee, we do whatever, we make our submission that if there's a subject for discussion, and whoever avails him or herself as a special delegate from the province. No. I'm not raising a debate here. Okay, let me hear the point of privilege.
Chair. Stop harassing
let me hear the point of privilege.
Chair. What is the purpose of debating? Are we debating for the sake of debating, or are we debating to get solutions? Because if we are debating for the sake of debating, then the minister and MECs might as well not come here, because we are just doing it for entertainment. But the point that Honorable Shabangu is raising, that ministers and MECs are not here, is precisely because this matter is a matter that concerns their departments. They need to hear and they need to have a clear indication of what is happening in their provinces. Like, for instance, this motion was sponsored from KZN. Where is the MEC from KZN? He's not here. And we are going to go and we are going to debate and we are going to take, I don't know, if we are here for the sake of debating, we might as well go, because there's no importance of us to be here.
No, I think you misunderstood me. No. Just hold it, Honorable Chabangu. Just hold it. Can you take your seat? I think there's a misunderstanding. There's a misunderstanding because I am saying to you as honorable members, the point is raised. It's a serious matter. To say we would love to see our MECs, our members of the executive participating in our subject for discussion in order to be able to take note of the issues that we are raising. But what I'm saying to you, I'm bringing it to your attention, that in terms of our rules, there is nothing that compels them. There is nothing. We can invite them, and then we as a house, I'm still, or are you interrupted? Because I feel interrupted now. It is for us as a house to then say, here are the issues that we have raised. Here are the key issues that we need to extrapolate and isolate from the others. And therefore, this is how we are going to process these matters. Those that need the attention of the province are then brought to the attention of the province, say, act on this. Those that need national, do this. And then on our oversight mechanism through our own committees, we'll then be able to do follow-up on those things that we would have brought to the attention of the province and of national. It is for that matter that I'm saying, for me to have come up and respond to this is because of it was the second time, and I felt that perhaps there's a misunderstanding on what is a subject matter for discussion and what is the purpose of a subject matter for discussion. Can I, honorable members, I'm going to give Honorable Chabangu the last time.
Thank you.
And I'm saying, I'm not going to give anybody. After Honorable Chabangu, no honorable member, I'm not going to give anybody a chance and allow members, and I'm advising members, that if then we as a house feel that our rules are not adequately addressing matters related to subject for discussion, then let us amend them. Honorable Chabangu, you'll be the last on this particular matter, and then I'll call on Honorable Chabangu, Kaula, I've made a ruling on this matter. You can't be on your feet whilst Honorable Chabangu is on his feet. No.
Chair, thank you very much.
My name twice. Now you want you get
no. Honorable Hati. Honorable Hati.
Thank you, Chair.
I hope that you are not going to further engage on this subject.
No, I just want to say, Chair, I'm on the platform.
Honorable Chabangu. Honorable Tandi Sibugwan.
I am a member of this NCOP house. I have a right.
Honorable, I'm recognizing Honorable Chabangu as the last person on the sub. And Honorable Chabangu, can you do me a favor?
Thank you, Chair. No, I want just to clarify something and then I sit down. Chair.
I'm not reopening the discussion.
No. What I'm saying is that...
Order, honorable member.
What I'm saying is that we must understand the word debate. And of course, maybe go to visit our lexicons.
Visit?
Our lexicons.
Oh.
To say, what is the debate? My understanding of debating.
No, you see, I asked you.
That we listen to each other. We are dealing with a very serious matter.
Fine.
Of teachers being not paid. But the people who are supposed to pay teachers
Honorable
are going away.
Fine, I heard you. Fine, honorable members, honorable members, order. I made a ruling on the matter. And I'm not going to continue with this matter anymore. Further, Honorable Kaula, can you conclude the debate? Honorable Hatting, I'm not going to recognize you. I'm not going to recognize you. I'm not going to recognize you. Honorable Mokwele, can you take your seat, please? Yes, can you take your seat?
This is why this house is in such a mess when you chair.
I'm not, okay, fine.
Honorable Deputy Chairperson, thank you very much. Let me start by expressing my gratitude to all the honorable members who participated in the debate for actually giving the dignity that the subject deserves. All the members were really very focused and they really were very dignified in the way they tackled issues. Actually, it shows the importance of the subject that we are talking about. So thank you very much to all the honorable members. If I can be specific and start with the honorable minister to say, actually, indeed, the subject today was about grade R teachers. The EWP, Education White Paper 5, of course, because of the government failing to meet targets, we started by 2010, then postponed to 2014, and now postponed to 2019. I agree, we have been postponing. What we are saying as the IFP is that there must be commitment, and we must work to be meeting targets that we are setting. Of course, the norms and standards for the funding of grade R, it says it is 70% per grade R learner of the total figure that the grade 1 learner is subsidized on. A few years ago, a study showed that a grade R learner in South Africa was funded at 10,500, but a grade R learner would have been funded at 3,000 rand. That is not 70%. It's 30%. That is what the IFP is talking about, inequalities of funding and not subscribing to the norms and standards, which is what we are saying the government must subscribe to. And there are hiccups, like the minister was saying, and I would like to actually thank the minister for admitting the wrongs. We say honesty is the best policy, so thank you, Minister, for that. But one last thing to the minister. NSNP, colleagues in the country, NSNP is only calculated at learners from grade 1, even if a school has got grade R. In other words, in the mindset of the government, of the department, a child who qualifies, who is poor, who qualifies for NSNP, is not poor at grade R. But the moment the child gets to grade 1, the child is poor. It's wrong. It is something that does not need money. It needs the minister to correct it, that calculations of NSNP must start at grade R in schools where schools have got grade R. Honorable Mpamos Bugwana, thank you very much, colleague. Of course, you did refer to the changing conditions and circumstances. We agree with you, and that is why we are saying there must be increments, even to the stipend. The sad part of it is that the stipends are not given annually, even if it is a stipend then, but do give annual increments because, like you were saying, circumstances are changing. So thank you very much for that. I would also not agree with you then on the issue of whether the teachers are not productive and therefore they are overpaid. I don't want to get to that. And like you were saying, there is e-learning coming. It's a changing circumstance. And therefore the stipend must also move with the times. Honorable MEC Makupula, also thank you very much for what you have said. You said you are trying, in respect of what the minister pronounced last year, the MEC. Actually, the MEC pronounced that he was going to create 900 posts, and by admission today, he says no, he has only absorbed 260. It's pathetic. Created 900 posts, but up to now has only absorbed 260. It shows non-commitment to the cause. The Honorable Elezwane, thank you very much, Ma. It was a very important subject, like you were saying, and you raised important issues. You also referred to the Bible. Undlala itafula lami phambi kwezitha zami ngiyakuhlala endlini kaJehova kuze kube phakade. Amen. We have to invest in foundation, like you are saying, foundation phases. It shows me now we really are same WhatsApp group. Honorable MEC Dlungwana, I'm disappointed, you know. Of course, you are my young brother. It shows the level of immaturity. You say you have got 6,052 schools. More than 95% of these schools, you inherited them from the erstwhile KwaZulu government. But you say the government has done nothing. You refer to my father. My father was not the only member of the erstwhile KwaZulu government. Honorable Zwane here, her father, a good friend of my father, they were both there. But when things are wrong, no, it's Honorable Kalwa's father. The others were there, no, they are okay, they are clean. MEC Kachebe, I am really very impressed with the behavior. Always MEC Kachebe when he's here, very focused. A gentleman engaging on issues. Thank you very much for the commitment to upgrading and upskilling and the partnerships you talked about. Honorable Shabangu, thanks, my friend. I don't want to get to the issues. Honorable Hatting, thanks for the compliment, and I agree with you on a lot of issues that are wrong. Honorable Mnaketi, another Limpompo, another gentleman, another focus. You know, now I begin to understand why the ANC elected the Honorable President Ramaphosa at Nasrec. Another Limpopo. Limpopo colleagues is focused. Honorable Mnaketi was just engaging issues. That is what we need. You see, colleagues, we cannot be leaving the things that are wrong by correction to the hands of the ANC. No, this is our country. We have been sent by our people who have voted us to come here and correct issues. And that is why, you know, this debate that when the ANC is tackling issues and they say, oh no, but things were wrong and now we are correcting them. Anyway, that is what we have voted, that is why you are voted into power. You are voted into power because that is why we struggled against apartheid, because things were wrong. And the priority is you start correcting things. So you cannot blame people. You cannot blame, it is our responsibility, but to other colleagues, it is our joint responsibility. Things that are wrong cannot be solely be left in the hands of the ANC because this country will be a disaster if we do that. It can't be. Colleagues, thanks Honorable Mnaketi for the valuable content for engaging issues. Thank you very much. And colleagues, lastly, I do want to say to you, today, the IFP has shown you that the IFP is Wilabantu. The IFP is the voice of the people. So, really, that is always our focus in the IFP. It's always our focus and will always remain like that. So, to His Majesty, Upechano Dlabakayise, Ukasalgas, Honorable
Kaula.
Honorable
Kaula.
I do want to say.
Honorable Kaula. Honorable Mteto, on what point are you rising?
No, ngifuna nje ukubuza la kukhawula ukuthi hayi lento uyisho kahle ngoba iIFP buya ku-ANC vele iyizwi labantu ngalokho.
No, honorable member, I think you're out of order. You are really out of order.
No, you still have
Okay,
thank you. Okay. No, thanks, Honorable Chairperson. No, vele kunjalo izwi labantu. So ngiyafisa nje usibonge isilo, ngifisa kodwa kakhulukazi ukubonga umntwana akaphinda ngene. Imfundiso zakhe lezi. Imfundiso zakhe ezigcwele nala endlini. When we take issues, colleagues, you don't play the man, you play the game. That is what the IFP does. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Honorable Kaula. That concludes the debate. The Secretary would read the first order of the day. But what is happening with the technical?
Consideration of report of Select Committee on Trade and International Relations, agreement establishing a tripartite free state trade area among the common market for Eastern and Southern Africa, the East African Community, and the Southern African Development Community, with the explanatory memo.
Honorable members, you are on your feet and you are confusing me. I don't know if you seek my attention or. Oh, okay. Honorable Makue.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson and members. It's our honor as members of the Select Committee on Trade and International Relations to today remember and pay tribute to Stephen Bantu Biko, a brave and brilliant intellectual and leader of our beloved country. The Tripartite Free Trade Agreement that I'm here to talk about today is anchored on the development integration approach, which places emphasis on market integration, infrastructure development, and industrial development as opposed to a purely mercantilist free trade area that does not address development imperatives of the region. The Tripartite Free Trade Area, hereafter referred to the agreement as the TFTA, creates a single set of rules for trade amongst the three economic communities, that is SADC, COMESA, and the EAC. It represents opportunities of a larger market comprising 26 countries with a combined population of over 600 million people and a total gross domestic product of approximately 1.1 trillion US dollars. The TFTA offers an opportunity for a larger, integrated, and rapidly growing regional market that promises to enhance South Africa's foreign investment prospects and provides a basis for improved intra-regional trade. Thus, it increases the region's prospects of stimulating industrialization, employment, income generation, and poverty eradication. As you might be aware, honorable members, intra-Africa trade is estimated to be at a very low of a mere 16%. Therefore, any effort to improve regional trade should be supported. The agreement before us establishes the framework for addressing the tripartite region's industrial and infrastructure development objectives. Given increased protectionism in global trade, ratification of this agreement has become more urgent to ensure that South Africa diversifies export markets and considers alternative markets in order to address the reliance on traditional export markets. Ratification of the TFTA, honorable members, is a positive step towards providing South African exporters with much needed legal certainty of export markets in the region, which will have a positive spillover effect on investment attraction into the region. When the Department of Trade and Industry presented the agreement to the Select Committee on August the 8th, which is Women's Day, we recognized the potential benefits of South Africa. However, the honorable members also raised concerns about possible threats that the agreement may pose to South Africa's economy. Part of the additional details and information that the department provided is an elaboration of effective implementation of the agreement by various agencies, including South African Revenue Services, South African Police Services, and Home Affairs, amongst others, all of them operating at our border posts. We appreciate the collaborative effort between the department and relevant agencies of the state. We urge that this collaborative effort continues throughout the implementation phase of the agreement. 22 out of 26 member states of the African Union have signed this agreement. There are currently 3 countries which have ratified the agreement, namely Egypt, Uganda, and Kenya. Therefore, I recommend that this agreement also be accepted by this House, and I recommend this on behalf of the Select Committee. South Africa's ratification of this agreement will send a strong signal of our commitment to regional integration. Through this agreement, the Republic of South Africa and our people will, amongst others, tackle colonialism head-on. It will secondly correct trade relations created by colonialists. Thirdly, it will break the trade boundaries instituted by colonial rulers. And fourthly, it will protect and enhance our national interests. And finally, we call on you to act in ensuring a better Africa and a better world. Chair, I present this for ratification by the House, and I thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes the debate. I shall now put the question, and the question is that the report be agreed to. As the decision is dealt with in terms of Section 65 of the Constitution, I shall first ascertain as to whether all provincial heads of delegations are in the House. Are they all in the House? In accordance with Rule 71, I shall first allow any province an opportunity to make a declaration of vote if they so wish. Is there any province that wishes to? In the absence of any, we shall then proceed with the voting, and I will do that in an alphabetical order. Eastern Cape.
Eastern Cape support, Honorable Deputy Chair.
Free State.
Free State support, Honorable Chair.
Gauteng.
Gauteng supports, Chair. Thank you.
KwaZulu-Natal.
KwaZulu-Natal.
Limpopo.
Limpopo, Reiter.
Mpumalanga.
Mpumalanga seconds.
Northern Cape.
Northern Cape support, Chair.
Northwest.
Northwest agrees.
Western Cape.
Western Cape agrees.
All 9 provinces voted in favor. I therefore declared the report as agreed to in terms of Section 65 of the Constitution. The Secretary will read the second order of the day. Second order.
Of report of Select Committee on Petitions and Executive Undertakings. Executive undertakings made by the Minister of Mineral Resources during House sitting of 27 October 2015.
Honorable Klimbi.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, the Select Committee on Petitions and Executive Undertaking, having requested the Honorable Minister of Mineral Resources to appear before it and provide a progress report on the implementation of fulfillment of the executive undertaking made on given on the floor of the House during the question and answer session in the National Council of Provinces, reports as follows. On the 27th October 2015, the Honorable Minister of Mineral Resources made or gave the following executive undertaking during the questions and answer session in the National Council of Provinces. The board, the member is taking about belongs to the Department of Mineral Resources as far as I know, but will look into the issue of our representation as we also also take keen interest in beneficiation of the minerals that we are directly responsible for. On the 8th of April 2016, the chairperson of the National Council of Provinces referred the above-mentioned executive undertaking made or given by the minister to the committee to scrutinize and ensure their proper implementation. And on the 21st February 2018, the minister appeared before the committee and reported on the progress made in implementing the executive undertaking under the respective portfolio. In noting the progress report made by the minister in relation to the implementation of the executive undertaking under review, the committee makes the following observation and key findings. 1, the Department of Mineral Resources has appointed an independent selection panel consisting of the 5 persons with the requisite knowledge and understanding of the diamond industry and legal and corporate governance experience to assist in the shortlisting of candidates to be considered for appointment to the board of the South African Diamond and Precious Metals Regulator. The board of the SADMRA is working towards addressing the challenges facing the industry, including barriers to entering the jewelry manufacturing industry, as well as the declining beneficiation in the sector. The department has been working collaboratively with other departments such as the Department of Trade and Industry and the Department of Science and Technology in contributing towards beneficiation. The department is currently engaged in talks with a number of countries, including China, Russia, Australia, and Canada, aimed at convincing investors to come and beneficiate in South Africa. Further, in noting the progress report made by the Minister of Mineral Resources, the committee lastly observed that the executive undertakings has been adequately implemented and therefore recommends that it be closed. I so moved, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes the debate. I shall now put the question, and the question is that the report be agreed to. In accordance with Rule 71, you are right in front of me. In accordance with Rule 71, I shall first allow provinces an opportunity to make a declaration of vote if they so wish. Is there any province that wishes to? In the absence of any, we shall then proceed with the voting. Eastern Cape.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Eastern Cape support the report.
Free State.
Free State support, Honorable Chair.
Gauteng.
Gauteng iyadumela nje.
KwaZulu-Natal.
KwaZulu-Natal iyavuma.
Limpopo. Mpumalanga.
Limpopo iyadumela.
Mpumalanga.
Mpumalanga agrees with the report.
Northern Cape.
Northern Cape iyadumalana Chair.
Northwest.
Northwest agrees, Chair.
Western Cape.
Western Cape agrees.
All 9 provinces voted in favor. I therefore declare the report as agreed to in terms of Section 65 of the Constitution. The Secretary will read the third order.
Consideration of report of Select Committee on Petitions and Executive Undertakings. Executive undertakings made by the Minister of Environmental Affairs during our sitting of 27 October 2015.
Honorable Klimbi.
Thanks again, Chairperson. Chairperson, again, the Select Committee on Petition and Executive Undertakings, having requested the Honorable Minister of Environmental Affairs to appear before it and provide a progress report in the implementation or fulfillment of the executive undertakings made or given on the floor of the House during the question and answer session in the National Council of Provinces. Reports as follows. On the 27th of October 2015, the Honorable Minister of Environmental Affairs made or gave the following executive undertakings during the questions and answer session in the National Council of Provinces. Executive Undertaking 1. The first part of the plan going forward is to ensure that there are training opportunities for all people in the program, especially those who are from disadvantaged communities. Executive Undertaking 2. This campaign will bring about job opportunities as it is aimed at finding new partners. Executive number 3, the minister committed to come back to the House with a response in respect of the progress of the research on foam bomb to extinguish fire by Carltonville Station in Gauteng. Chairperson, On the 8th of April 2016, the chairperson of the National Council of Provinces referred the above-mentioned executive undertakings made or given by the minister to the committee to scrutinize and ensure their proper implementation. And on the 21st February 2018, the minister appeared before the committee and reported on the progress made in implementing the executive undertaking under her respective portfolio. In noting the progress report made by the minister in relation to the implementation of the executive undertakings under review, the committee makes the following observations and key findings. One, the Working on Fire program was never intended to be a once-off program, and such, it always forms part of the operational plan of the Department of Environmental Affairs. Two, the report of the Working on Fire Oversight Committee released on the 7th of February 2018 provides that the number of people that have resigned from the program in the 2017-2018 financial cycle to pursue better employment opportunity stands at 207. Three, in an effort to source employment for those under the program, the department engages with the partner agencies who are not labor brokers, but private employers, or with the departments which have opportunities available to employ trained people. The department does not force anyone out of the program, and the 207 persons who have resigned from the program to date resigned voluntarily to pursue better employment opportunity. In each financial cycle, the department allocates accredited training targets for the program, and in the 2017-2018 financial year, the plan is to recruit about 5,200 people into the program, which is 31% being women and 95% being the youth. The issue of developing a foam bomb was found to be cost prohibitive by the department, and as such, the department is using world standard chemicals that have proved to be effective in fighting fires. Chairperson, further, in noting the progress report made by the Minister of Environmental Affairs, the committee lastly observes that the executive undertakings have been adequately implemented and therefore recommends that they be closed. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. That concludes the debate. In accordance with Rule 71, I shall first allow provinces an opportunity to make a declaration of vote if they so wish. Is there any province that wishes to? In the absence of any, we shall then proceed with the voting. Is there any? Is it the province?
Who said so? You are from Gauteng. You are from Gauteng, when?
Honorable Mukwele, I asked for
Honorable
a declaration of vote from a province.
Yes.
As a delegate from a province.
Yes.
I'm allowing you to.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you very much. You are not from Northwest. Why are you speaking? The report before us, I hereby declare that the report before us, as tabled by the chairperson of the committee, doesn't have the true reflection of what transpired when the minister was briefing the committee. Therefore, I declare that Northwest abstain from voting.
There seems to be a problem in the Northwest. let's hear what the other view is. You may proceed. No, he's a special delegate. I've got the right to hear him.
Now, Chair, the member might be here and be a member from Northwest. But the fact of the matter is that he's not representing the province at this stage. I'm the one representing. Yes.
No, thank you very much, honorable members. On a point of order, Honorable
Yes.
Mokwele.
I think the honorable special delegate from the Northwest doesn't have also the mandate from the province. If he had a mandate from the province, nkebe a kgonne go itse gore, as a province, we do or we don't have a declaration.
Okay, Honorable Nyambi.
Chair, I'm rising in terms of the rules of the NCOP.
Honorable Mokwele, you're not listening.
Which are derived from our constitution. In terms of the constitution,
Honorable
the
Chabangu,
Premier is the one who's leading the delegation as a special delegate. And when we come to the House, we have a letter from a province that appoint a provincial whip. When we happen to have a special delegate, like it is the case in Northwest, so we do have a special delegate in Northwest who's leading the delegation. So we can't have any other member from any province doing that, otherwise it will be chaos. Thank you, Chairperson.
Okay, thank you very much. No, Honorable Mokwele. Honorable Mokwele. No, Honorable Mokwele, I've heard you. No, take your seat. No, I've heard what you said.
Can you, to show that Northwest is confused, Northwest province, they have sent the speaker of Northwest have sent a special delegate from the DA. And the DA as a political party doesn't have a seat of special delegate in this house. So by that, it shows you that the province is so confused. I'm just giving you an example. And we are voting, and the member here is from DA. The member is from DA and is sent by the speaker. That's a confusion. I'm just showing you the confusion.
Honorable Mokwele, we are dealing with a matter here related to, you see, you're rising, you make a comment, people are listening to you, and then you don't listen. All I'm saying is that, and I've been properly advised on that. Honorable Nyambi is spot on. We're dealing with a constitutional matter here. And this matter has got to do with a report, not a Section 76 negotiating mandate wherein which a province has to send a mandate. But by virtue of having a special delegate from the legislature, that special delegate assumes then the responsibility of leading a delegation. That is why you would find in most provinces, as and when you get special delegates, the leadership of the delegation normally gives them the space to sit at the front. So therefore, that is my ruling. We are proceeding with the basis of a report. I'm saying I was calling on Northwest whether if they support the report as presented by Honorable Quimby. No, Honorable Mokwele, you are not going to tell me what to do. No, I'm recognizing the leader of the delegation. He's the one. Honorable member, Honorable Mokwele. Honorable Mokwele, can you take your seat? No, you are being disruptive now. Now you are being disruptive. No, now you are being disruptive. There's no declaration of vote from the Northwest. Therefore, Northwest, do you support the report as presented? Because we were there. No. We're on the declaration, and that's where the confusion came in. Okay, fine. Thank you very much. Then we shall proceed with the voting. Eastern Cape.
Eastern Cape votes in favor.
Free State.
Free State here, Amohela, Honorable Chairperson.
Gauteng.
Supports.
KwaZulu-Natal.
KwaZulu-Natal support, sir.
Limpopo.
Limpopo fully supports.
Mpumalanga.
Mpumalanga supports the report, Chair.
Northern Cape supports, Chair.
Northwest.
Northwest Chair supports. You must accept that anarchism, it's political ideology.
Western Cape. Western Cape.
Agrees.
All 9 provinces voted in favor. Therefore, the report is agreed to in terms of Section 65 of the Constitution. The Secretary will read the 4th order of the day.
Consideration of Protection, Promotion, Development and Management of Indigenous Knowledge Bill, B6B 2016, and report of Select Committee on Communications and Public Enterprises thereon.
Honorable Pakis.
Honorable Chair and honorable members, special delegates, I'm here to present the statement on behalf of the Select Committee. The report talks to the Protection, Promotion, Development and Management of Indigenous Knowledge Bill. The Select Committee of Communications and Public Enterprise considered the Protection, Promotion, Development and Management of Indigenous Bill that was referred to it by National Assembly in November 2017. Following a briefing by the Department of Science and Technology, the committee, in recognition of its constitutional obligations, in processing a bill, invited interested parties to submit comments on the bill. Judging by minimum amount of suggestions from the public, it became clear that the bill was not only well crafted, but was also a product of wider consultation process that was accompanied by workshops and exhibition fairs across the country. None of the stakeholders, both direct and secondary, raised matters that were not addressed in the bill. Furthermore, the bill took into consideration the guiding principles and substantive provisions of the protection of traditional cultural expressions and traditional knowledge agreed to by the World Intellectual Property Rights Organization. Collectively, these international obligations proposed the establishment of legislation that is unique and is specific to the conditions of the country in question for the protection of indigenous knowledge. This therefore means that this bill is timely and a strategic intervention in protecting and promoting and developing indigenous knowledge for the benefit of our people, especially those living in the deep rural areas where indigenous knowledge systems are predominantly the form. For many years, our people have been deprived of the economic rights and benefit due to them as a result of unregulated and unprotected indigenous knowledge. As an example of the bill, in section 25(1)(a) to B states that, I quote, any person who intends to use indigenous knowledge for commercial purposes must apply in prescribed manner for the license authorizing the use of that indigenous knowledge and enter into a license agreement with the trustee of the relevant indigenous community for its use. Medicinal plants are just part of the deal. The bill covers a wide range of indigenous knowledge system that includes music, art, games. The range itself, and for all of this to happen, the bill talks about the establishment of the National Indigenous Knowledge Systems Office, which will be responsible for the implementation of this legislation amongst other functions. In agreement and engagement with the Department of Science and Technology, we have made it clear and explicit that the NIKSO offices must be present in all 9 provinces and must be easily accessible to our people. If this bill has to be indeed for the benefit of our people. All 9 provinces showed their full support for the bill, and as an NCOP, we approve or we submit as a committee that the bill, whilst also committing ourselves that we will monitor closely its implementation so as to ensure that our people's lives do change and we effect quality change in their lives. We submit the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes the debate. I shall now put the question, and the question is that the bill be agreed to. And in accordance with Rule 71, I shall first allow provinces an opportunity to make a declaration of vote, if they so wish. Is there any province? No. We shall then proceed with the voting. Eastern Cape?
Eastern Cape votes in favor, Chair.
Free State?
Free State, amohela ka matsoho a mabedi, Honorable Chairperson.
Gauteng?
Gauteng votes in favor, Chair.
KwaZulu-Natal?
KwaZulu-Natal support, Chair.
Limpopo?
Limpopo ra dumela.
Northern Cape? Mpumalanga?
Mpumalanga yasekela, Chair.
Northern Cape? Northern Cape?
Northern Cape, Honorable De Beer.
Northwest?
Northwest agrees.
Western Cape? Western Cape?
Support.
All 9 provinces voted in favor. I therefore declare the report as agreed, bill as agreed to in terms of Section 65. On the order, honorable members. Did you hear what I said? I can't think. I don't think you heard what I said. I don't think that you heard what I said. Because you're all over the show. No. This is a procedural matter. The secretary will read the 5th order.
Consideration of report of Select Committee on Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs. Inspection in local or notice of intervention issued in terms of Section 139(1)B of the Constitution 1996 in Dr. Nkosazana Zuma, a local municipality.
Honorable Mtet.
Thank you, Chair. Let me begin by
Honorable Mteto, can you take a seat? Can I get a point of order?
According to the order paper, this report was 80 seat today, like 12 September 2018. And then we must adopt it.
Why are you raising? Oh. Honorable Mteto.
Guys, what are we doing? Chairperson, I would say, I don't know. Where will the provinces get the mandates from? Because this report was 80 seat today. And today, we must resolve on it today. Come on, guys. Come on.
You know, I thought we have dealt with Honorable Mokwele. Are you done? Honorable members, I thought we agreed and we understood earlier on that for reports we don't need a mandate from a province because it's a report. It's a report that is presented to the House. It's for the province to agree with it or not, but not to submit a voting mandate. Now, Honorable Mthethwa, can you continue with the debate?
Thank you, Chair. Let me begin by wishing Honorable Mahapi a soon recovery, who has been struggling for a long time because of his health. On the 28th of March 2018, Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma local municipality was placed under administration because of a breakdown in discipline and decision-making, and has necessitated a direct intervention by the Provincial Executive Council. The decision followed a special meeting between the Provincial Executive Council to intervene in the municipality, which has failed to exercise a number of executive decision and institution challenges. It appears to have been caused by disagreements with the municipal council around the appointment of senior officials and a municipal manager. Basis for invoking Section 139(1)(b) of the Constitution. The municipality experienced serious and persistent governance and institutional challenges, which appears to have been caused particularly by disagreement within the municipal council around the filling of the position of the municipal manager. The employment contract of the then municipal manager at the municipality expired in August 2017. The municipal council subsequently resolved to appoint him on an acting basis for a period of 3 months. This period expires on the 31st December 2017 before the municipality could complete the appointment processes. The municipal council failed to appoint the municipal manager, and it also failed to fill 3 other senior managers' posts, and such posts remain vacant. These include community services, development and town planning, and public works and basic services. It should be remembered, in terms of Section 54A of the Local Government Municipal Systems Act 32 of 2000, the municipal council must appoint a municipal manager as a head of the administration of the municipal council. In the case of Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma local municipality, this legislative requirement was not fulfilled and resulted in the breakdown in decision-making and institutional challenges, which appears to have been caused by disagreement within the municipal council around the filling of the position of the municipal manager, terms of reference of the administrator. Subsequently, an administrator was appointed to discharge the following responsibility: prepare and implement a recovery plan approved by the municipal council, undertake the appointment of senior managers in terms of Section 54A and Section 56 of the Municipal Systems Act, including disciplinary procedures for senior managers as prescribed where applicable, implement programs to capacitate the councillors of the municipality on their governance role, including oversight on the institutional, financial, and service delivery affairs of the municipality. It has been observed that the municipal council has repeatedly failed to appoint a municipal manager, and in so doing, paralyzed the administration capacity of the municipality to manage its affairs and to deliver basic services to its residents. The Select Committee wishes to send a strong message that our community will not accept defocused councillors. that are not prioritizing effective and efficient functioning of their municipalities. It must be remembered that people have entrusted them to deliver quality basic services, and as such, service delivery should not be interrupted. The problems facing the Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma municipality could be a thing of the past if the councillors and political parties work together instead of working against each other. It should be remembered that councillors are elected to represent local communities on municipal councils to ensure that municipalities have a structured mechanism of accountability to local communities and to meet the priority needs of community by providing service equitable, effectively, and sustainable within the means of the municipality. With regards to the procedural requirement of Section 139, subsection 2 of the Constitution, the Minister was notified on the intervention on the 29th March 2018. The Minister approved the intervention within 28 days as prescribed by the Constitution. The chairperson of the NCOP was notified on the intervention on the 29th March 2018. The municipal was notified on the intervention on the 28th March 2017. Recommendation: having conducted the oversight visit to Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma local municipality and interacted with internal and external stakeholders, it is recommended that the NCOP approve the intervention in Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma municipality in terms of Section 139(1)(b) of the Constitution. The Provincial Department of Cooperative Governance and the Regional Affairs in KwaZulu-Natal Province, together with SALGA, and in cooperation with the Local Government Sector Education and Training Authority, should facilitate training and capacity building for municipal officials and councillors to further deepen their competencies and understanding of the oversight role, legal framework, management and policies that govern the effective of the municipality. The KwaZulu-Natal MEC for caucus should table an exit report to the NCOP on the status of the intervention in the municipality. The Select Committee on Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, in cooperation with the relevant portfolio committee in KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Legislature, should in future conduct a follow-up oversight visit to the municipality in order to evaluate the progress made in respect of the intervention in the municipality. Chairperson, I therefore table this report in the House. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes the debate, and I shall then put the question, and the question is that the report be agreed to. In accordance with Rule 71, I shall first allow provinces an opportunity to make a declaration of vote if they so wish. Is there any province? In the absence of any, we shall then proceed with the voting. Eastern Cape?
Eastern Cape, iyayixhasa le ngxelo.
Free State?
Free State iyayidumela, Honorable Chairperson.
Gauteng?
Gauteng supports, Chair.
KwaZulu-Natal?
KZN supports.
Limpopo?
Mpopo yavumelana.
Mpumalanga?
Impumalanga iyasekela mhlala.
Northern Cape?
Northern Cape support, Chairperson. Must I say it again?
Northwest?
Northwest supports.
Western Cape?
Supports.
All 9 provinces voted in favor. I therefore declare the report as agreed to in terms of Section 65 of the Constitution. Honorable members, I must say, there was a lot of energy. There was a lot of energy. Of course, uneven. There are those who are more energetic than the others. But we're all energized, but not equally. And as a result, I need to say to those who are more energetic than the others to try and balance in future that energy. Honorable members, that concludes the business of the day. You are required to remain standing whilst the